Welcome to the Nagual Zone. I'm Anaam. Today we are discussing a very, very toxic paradigm. This one's not a belief, it's a paradigm. A paradigm is when the belief is fortified. A belief is like an army encampment, and a paradigm is like a fortress. This paradigm, and I will give you the solution to this paradigm, the direct solution to this paradigm, is this paradigm is responsible for much of the state of the world as it is today. All the so-called world leaders, they operate solely from this paradigm. The three goblins of the politician, the priest, and the scientist, they operate pretty much solely from this paradigm. There might be a few scientists that may operate outside this paradigm, but then they will have a lot of money to fund their stuff, and they won't be agreeing with their funders in their scientific findings. I read a meme the other day saying, how strange that 99% of science agrees with those who fund it. This is an amazing, amazing paradigm. Now here's the problem with paradigms. Let's go back to your innate ability first. Let me remind you that you are born with magic coming out of your fingertips. You're born with magic radiating from your eyes. And then something happens. I was just discussing in the morning today with a friend a series of books that were written by someone called His Dark Materials, I believe that's what it's called. And there's a movie was made as well at one point. It's a pretty decent movie, I remember. And it has to do with these children and how these spirit animals that they all have their unique spirit animals, and how there's a conspiracy in that dimension, in that world, to kidnap these children and sever their connection permanently with their spirits, with their spirit animals. There's a name for them as well. And so that these children can be controlled or something. It's very, very similar to what happens or what has happened to you. This has happened to you. An outside force has come and taught you something called reason. The age of reason, the Renaissance, the age of reason. You have been taught to reason. And the warrior's bread and butter is not reason. Leave that to the three goblins. They are experts at reason and consequently experts at lying, because reason and lying are two sides of the same coin. If you get what I just said, you're in a good place. You can see clearer and further. If you did not get what I just said, that reason and lying are two sides of the same coin, you have a lot of work to do in figuring out what being honest with yourself really means. I'll leave you with that one. But let's see that you're born with magic. You are a magical being. You're born a magical being. And then education begins. And that magic is twisted and perverted into very narrow bands of controlled usage called logic, reason, and then its offshoots which are destroying the world called science and technology. Granted, technology is the reason you are listening to this. I grant that. There's good and bad in everything. But the overall effect is questionable, whether it's actually beneficial or not. Okay? Now, as you are now, paradigms are what are the switchboards for your magic, if you want to call that, or they are your magic gloves. The paradigms that you have within you are the ceiling, are the limitations, the firewalls within which your magic is bound. Change those paradigms and the nature and the power of the magic you can wield in your life will change. It's guaranteed. Now, this paradigm that is limiting your magic severely, it has hobbled you for life. It's like cutting the Achilles heel of someone that hobbles them for life. This paradigm is like that unless you work very hard and relentlessly to change that. I worked very hard and relentlessly for a very long period of time. And inch by inch, I changed my assemblage point regarding this paradigm. What is the paradigm? The worst is always the first. In other words, the worst case scenario that's likely to happen is the first thing you'll think of. The worst is always the first for you, isn't it? The worst is always the first. Buy a nice thing, the more money you've invested in buying whatever it is, the more the worst is the first will happen to you. Think about it. You bought a yacht or something. What if it catches fire? What if it drowns? What if I drown? What happened? Check. The worst is always the first. You've got your ring. You want to propose, flying in a helicopter and something, and then she will look down and thousands of people have said, will you marry me? You know, they've formed and you've paid all this money. The bigger it is, the more worst is the first is going to come into your head. And these are, I'm exaggerating for effect, but you know what I mean. The worst is always the first. How comes? I had this for years until one day, with a jolt, I realized that I wasn't even aware that that was what my habitual way of thinking was. If it could go wrong, I would run it in my head, the first thing. And then I would be running damage control scenarios. Okay, then if that happens, then what will I do? And my entire mental energy, consequently my feelings and emotions, consequently my ability to wield raw magic was completely twisted, ineffective, ineffectual. And the amazing thing is that you are such an amazing magical being that despite such severe hobbling, you still manage to wield powerful magic in your life. Still. Worst is the first. For warriors, as you know, flip it around. If the worst is the first and the best is always the last, flip it around. The best has to come first and the worst has to be absolutely at the last of the queue in your mind. You have to learn, you have to do this. You have to switch this around inside you. All the best outcomes must occur to you first. Instinctively, repeat this way of thinking so relentlessly and so much that the best outcomes occur to you automatically. Not just one, but many. Just like the worst ones aren't just one, there's many of them, right? in the same way. This will sound familiar to you what I'm about to say. If you have a world in which the worst is always the first, what will those people cherish, value the most? Safety. Hashtag stay safe. So let me get it straight. In order to not get infected by a virus that has never been isolated or proven to exist, you are now inhibiting your breathing. Interesting. And completely insane. The worst is always the first. That scenario, that paradigm will make an organism behave in increasingly paranoid and insane ways. Case in point, the average man's consensus reality, of which you happen to be a very active member. Warriors turn it around. The best case scenario is always the first thing that occurs to them. We cannot afford to have worst is the first in our field of work. Can't afford it. It's too destructive and there's no way you can do anything, at least in the Toltec warriors world, with that toxic inhibition constantly pulling you towards insanity and self-destruction. The best is always the first. A being that has that constantly as their running functional paradigm will value and cherish what? A sense of curiosity and adventure. Don't you think? This person, look, right now, your life is no more dangerous than it was 5 years ago. It is no, I assure you this, death has not suddenly picked up its belt, fastened its belt and gone right. Yeah, if death was to come for you, it could have come just as easily before, say, December 2019. It could have just come just as easily for you. The goblin politician has been whispering. 3 goblins have been whispering to you, and you've been listening through what is called news. By the way, one of the greatest victories of the 3 goblins and the parasite that these are the minions of has been to switch words, where propaganda is actually called news and indoctrination is actually called education. Just switch these 2 words in a civilization. Take any civilization, the most thriving civilization of incredible, happy people, fantastic, love and light, unicorns are eating the grass by the roadside. Yeah, just switch these 2 around in that civilization. Get them to believe that propaganda is news and indoctrination is education. And get them to be really proud of themselves for eating as much news as they can every day, and get them really proud to pursue increasing levels of indoctrination, double PhD. My children are going to university. Get them to be really proud of this. Watch what happens to that civilization in 1 generation. 1 generation. Happens to a country called, that you call India. If I was to tell you what the actual education system in Bharat was before the white man got in there, it would blow your mind. That is a research for you to do, if you can be bothered. But let's just say that the point stands. Switch words. Because you switch words and you switch magic. Spelling, spells, magic. The best has got to be the first for you. You have to, and you will see something inside you will really fight that. Initially, the more best case scenarios you put up, the more worst case scenarios will try and really get in there. You really you really struggle with that. At least I did. And eventually things will settle. Now, what is a great way to switch this around? Write this affirmation down. I worked personally with this affirmation for years. I still use it. This is the best affirmation that I have ever come across. Given the nature of the world we live in, it inoculates and negates almost all the toxicity of the paradigms that are in our head. Louise Hay has used this in her own life, this paradigm, this affirmation, to great success. So here it is. Everything is working out for my highest good. Everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come. I am safe. And then one more time, I am safe. I am safe. Now with the last three, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe, you can go, I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. That really puts the shine on the whole thing. Everything is working out for my highest good. Say it after me. Everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. Everything is working out for my highest good. Many times I add, and my greatest delight. Everything is working out for my highest good and my greatest delight. Out of this situation, only good will come. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. Everything is working out. Out of this situation, only good. Everything is working out. No. That's when, say no, say no to that worst case. No. We're not playing that game. No. Everything is working out for my highest good and my greatest delight. Out of this situation, only good will come. I'm safe. And again, the attack comes in there. Yeah. We're not entertaining you at the moment. We're not entertaining these toxic guests. Everything is actually working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come. I'm safe. And you do this again and again and again and again. What this will do is this will quiet down your nervous system and eventually switch it from fight or flight to relaxed. Once that happens, your body can be a better conduit for the magic that is constantly flowing in you. Your sense of safety will increase, which will then give you inner what? Security. What do we use security for? Security services. What is that for? Inner security. He's a very secure man. What does that mean? Security. What does that mean? Sense of safety. This person feels safe inside. They feel safe, and hence they are able to lead an adventurous life. Do you see how warriors cannot afford insecurity? Can't. We won't want to have adventures. Won't want to have adventures. Anything will come and steal away our magic because we're constantly afraid all the time. worst is always the first. So all these are tools and devices that Toltec warriors use in order to break all that is remaining between them and the adventure of life that is due them, that is their birthright. All these hobblings and cripplings are done away with, and we move from an inner sense of adventure and curiosity. There is no such thing as a scared, a warrior that is insecure and values safety over adventure. It's no such thing. That's not a warrior. They may think they are some kind of warrior, but that's not a warrior. Anyway, so this is the breakdown of the worst is always first and what to do about it. You do these affirmations night and day. Now, the way to know that a certain affirmation has really gone into the deep mind is when you have repeated it so much, so constantly, that even when you wake up in the night, you're half asleep and you want to go take a piss and you're kind of groggy and you're just going to the bathroom, suddenly you realize, ooh, that affirmation's running in my head. That's when you know that it's entering the deep mind. Record this on your phone with your own voice and leave it playing constantly, day and night, day and night. I'm being literal, day and night. Leave it on a low volume when you're watching your favorite Netflix toxic nonsense. At least you'll be using your time in a productive way whilst doing some idiotic stuff, right? Put this on. 24 hours a day, saturate yourself with it, and then it will do it for a year. I did it for many years. On that note, let me know what you think of your ability to wield powerful magic. What you think of this paradigm that's been running in you almost all your life, of worst is always the first. The more emotionally invested you are in something, the more worst is always the first. Train yourself to be the other way around. The more emotionally invested you are in something or someone, the more the best case scenarios occur to you constantly. Flip around the nature of your faith. Stop having faith in the worst is the first. Start having trust and faith in the best is always first. On that note, walk in freedom. I will see you next time. Farewell.